It is interesting.
Well, that's we hope, yeah.
We're shooting for interesting. Okay. Hey, well, my name is Paul Peterson. I've been asked by Backroom Productions to interview a handful of artists in the area, and the topic is something like life after lockdown, how this pandemic has maybe changed your artistic practice, the way you work basically and interact with people. So today I have my buddy Christopher Hahn. Christopher Hahn is an associate professor of music at Black Hills State University. And then I think I'm going to ask you to maybe, if there's anything you'd like the people to know about yourself, if you could fill in the gaps.
Well, I've been in the area teaching it at Black Hills State for I think this is my 22nd year. And while I've been here, I've played in a number of different groups in the area. I play trumpet, so I've played in the symphony and a few different jazz groups, and a polka band, and I mean, you name it, community bands. I conduct the Northern Hills Community Band now, which I played in for a lot of years. And so, yeah, that's what I do at BH. I teach music history, I teach brass, I teach recording techniques. Yeah, I've done a lot of stuff, world music, American music, all sorts of things. So it's and that's one of the things I like about being around here is I have all these different things that I get to do and I don't get stuck doing one thing.
Oh, right. If you're going to be in a relatively small community, life gets interesting when it comes to paying the bills.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's true. Yeah,
can be good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I do a lot of lessons, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess my question is kind of how your private lessons are going, and are there what are the changes that you'd have to make? I kind of, for guitar, it's not really, I don't know if it's really that big a deal. I've been doing more lessons online. I've been doing some lessons outside, which is nice. And I've discovered the kids, I think, actually appreciate it after spending all day in school. But, I was thinking, apparently COVID can be transmitted as an aerosol. And so I would think for brass instruments, that might be a problem.
That was, yeah, odd, and maybe not oddly enough, but I found it a little interesting that nobody had ever done any studies on aerosols and wind instruments. So when this all hit in the spring, a bunch of universities kind of jumped on it, and some researchers who are experts in the field of aerosols and aerosol transmission did a lot of studies where they would have, they have people sit down with all these different instruments and they play them and they measure everything. And they found that, yeah, it's, different instruments have different amounts of aerosol that they distribute. And so then it became a matter of, okay, how do you mitigate that? Brass instruments, relatively easy. Essentially you put a mask over the bell, and that, just like a mask over our face, it cuts down the amount. With woodwind instruments, where you've got a lot of keys that are open, that can be another issue. Some people are developing some bags that go around it. Flutes have a whole separate thing. And of course, singing is another thing as well. So that's been a little bit tricky. But as far as how I've taught lessons, we did, because the university went, virtual for the last half of last semester, I did Zoom lessons, online lessons with some of my students. The issues that I had, and I don't know if you have the same problem, but microphone quality really affects, obviously what they're going to sound like. So while talking works pretty well, when they were playing a brass instrument into, say, a computer microphone, or some of them were even using their cell phones. Those microphones just can't handle the dynamic range, and so you couldn't really work with a student with their tone quality, because you didn't really know what they sounded like. So that was a challenge. What I ended up doing with a couple of the students who were still here in Spearfish, we went into a big room and we would stand, 6 or 8 feet apart and do lessons that way. Now we're doing lessons back in our studios again, but we're wearing masks. I don't have it with me, but I have a mask that has a flap that comes up.
Okay.
So it leaves about that much of your face open, and you can put your mouthpiece there and play. And then you can put the flap down when you're not playing. And then we put bell covers over. And so we're back to doing in-person lessons. For me, doing them outside, since I give lessons on campus, is not the best idea, just because if I'm standing outside somebody's classroom and we're playing really loud, I don't want to mess with other teachers' instructions.
Right.
So we haven't had to do that, but guitar, that would work great, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, it's been nice.
Yeah.
You sit outside of the clubhouse in Nevada underneath the big.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, how about, well, as far as tone goes, does the bell covering affect tone? So even if you're in person, do you have a?
It depends. The right now for the ensembles, they're using essentially like a shop towel wrapped around the bell and held on with, I don't know if it's a rubber band or whatever, and it just sounds awful and it messes with the sound. But my mother-in-law has made masks for us, and she's making masks for people in the community as well. And so she made bell covers just out of cotton material that slip over, and that helps quite a bit. It's doesn't make much of a difference at all with the sound. It's a little bit, but not like putting a towel over the end of it. I mean, it'd be like shoving a dish rag in your tone hole of the guitar.
Yeah.
It just isn't going to work.
My wife, I'll do that occasionally. My wife appreciates it. Like I'm, playing that scale, one more.
Yep. Yeah.
Or memorizing that song, and I just need to play it one more time to really get it.
Yeah.
Because it only takes one more time.
That's right.
That's all it takes is one more. So did you ever figure out a way to attenuate the signal so that you could use a cell phone, or?
Not really. The problem is more the quality of the microphone itself.
Okay.
So, and a laptop or a cell phone, they're meant for voice,
right,
for speaking. They're not meant, you're not going to hold up your cell phone and, I'm going to record an album by singing into my cell phone. That's, you wouldn't do that. And so that's,
I've heard of it happening. I mean, people are.
Well, yeah, it happens, but you compare that to a good vocal mic, and it's it's just less that you have to do after the fact. That's one of the problems. The other problem actually is the technology, doing it over Zoom, which is the way we've been doing it. Zoom, you can actually adjust some of those parameters so that it doesn't do automatic level adjusting, where if it gets super loud, it's going to cut the signal. You can turn all that off if you're doing it on a computer. If you're on a tablet or a cell phone, you don't have those possibilities. So it ends up being whatever they can't change anything if they're using a cell phone. So that's the big problem. If the student is using a computer, it's a little bit better as long as they have the settings right. The best way would be to have a USB microphone that's decent quality. It doesn't have to be super expensive, and then you can plug in and use that, and then that pretty much alleviates the problem.
Okay. My one BH student has kind of been giving me some reports, and he said that there's some pretty interesting masks being worn in a choir.
Oh, they've got they've got these. They look like duck bills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that, I mean, what's going on with the design and
Um,
the,
it
is
it's
it a plague mask? Is it what,
it kind of looks like those,
you
yeah,
know,
a
that's,
little bit, yeah. The idea is that you've got more space. So instead of trying to sing like this,
okay.
you're singing like this, which is going to affect your sound less because it's not so muffled.
So it allows for
That,
better projection.
yeah, and you can
Maybe.
open your mouth more,
Okay.
and it all, yeah, yeah, that all works. So
I'm
that's,
looking,
yeah. And there's a company that makes those, and I think they have a like a plastic frame. I've got, my wife ordered some. I don't see one up here, but it's like a plastic frame that fits, like a not quite mesh, but it fits underneath your mask to pull it away from your face,
hmm.
so you can speak easier, and it does make a difference.
Well, the first thing I thought of being a guitar player is that, you know, there'll be people making these out of tone woods and charging, you know, thousands of dollars for boutique, you know,
Hmm.
local COVID masks.
Well, that's already
You know,
happening with masks for other people.
right.
They're like, gold lame and jewel encrusted, and yeah,
I'll get by with my,
yeah, same
you
here.
know. Okay. Well, how about, okay, well, we'll stick with technology. Are the Do you find that the kids, all the students have a technology that's up to the task?
Mm, I
And
think so.
is the
I think
school doing
so.
anything to help out at all, or
That I don't know. I know, most every student, well, everybody has a cell phone, so at the very
right,
least they can use that. And I think a number of students are using that for any online classes that they're doing. Um, right now we're still face to face, so unless you're specifically taking an online class, it's pretty good. So the only issues that I've run into are just students being unfamiliar with the program that we're using, whether it's the online teaching program D2L. Some of them that have never used it before can have difficulties in the beginning, but it's pretty easy to work through.
right.
So I would say overall, I think they're doing a pretty good job, and nobody's having too much trouble. I don't, at least in my experience. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like the learning curve on a lot of this new technology is actually fairly small.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah,
there
it is.
isn't.
It
It
is.
takes some time, but the interfaces are really well designed.
Yeah.
Um, how about what about like campus culture? What's going on campus? Are people
Um,
able to get out there and support the Yellow Jackets and
you know, I, I,
show their school spirit?
I don't know how much that's happening. I think I would assume that it's kind of business as usual as far as students, hanging out and doing all that stuff. We're not doing any concerts this semester, so I don't know what that kind of support. That's just not there right now. Um,
How's that for morale? That seems really
well,
sad
that's
to me. You
it's
know?
it's interesting. What I know, like the community choir on campus, they're
Mhm.
not going to perform this semester. They're just getting together and singing in the recital hall. So they're all spread out.
Okay.
And they're just singing, I think, kind of to sing and to just to work on some technique. What I decided to do with the orchestra is we're planning on doing, as long as we're in school and practicing, like we've had four rehearsals, I think. And so next week we're going to record the three songs that we were working on, and then we're going to put that up for everybody to watch. um, like I said, when we were talking earlier, we were going to live stream it, but there are some security issues with the BH network, that, at least with the technology that I have, we're not able to do that live, but we'll record it
Oh,
and then I'll stream it later.
So like maybe the firewalls are shutting down
Well, I think that's the
the
problem.
camera.
Is
Okay.
yeah, it's a matter where the camera and the computer talk to each other over Wi-Fi,
Right.
and I think because of the way the camera is set up, the camera is having trouble um, logging into the network. And so I'm actually supposedly meeting with somebody tomorrow to go over that and see if we can fix that. But the short-term solution is that we record it, and then I just take the recording and I can stream that just from my computer at a later date. So it'll be a live recording. And we're not going to go in and edit anything. We're just going to play it like it's a concert, and then we'll put it up for people to watch. But only once because of royalty issues.
Okay.
We're just, yeah.
So when it's live, it'll be on YouTube, is that right?
Actually, I'm gonna put it up on the Facebook.
Okay.
We've got a music department Facebook page.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll put a link up there, and then we'll get word out that here's where you want to go. And then, 2:30 on Sunday, you can watch it if you want.
Okay, great.
So it'll be like a concert.
But it won't actually be 2:30 Sunday, right?
No.
That's just an example.
Right. Well,
or do you have a date if you want to?
Well, I want to make sure we get the recording and everything going before I tell anybody.
You don't want to
to
commit.
show up.
I understand.
Yeah, now the idea is that it would be like the 4th of October, I think, at 2:30. But you'll have to. It'll get advertised if we're going to do that. I want to make sure it's up and running before we do that. So that's the plan. And then so that's what I'm going to do as far as. Yeah, we're getting together and playing, which everybody's enjoying doing. And I think for some people that's actually enough, just getting together and playing with each other. Doesn't matter if there's an audience or not, you're playing. And that I think is making them kind of happy.
Good.
And when I brought up the idea of doing these little concerts, they were like, yeah, that sounds good. So we'll do that. Myself, I'm working on some solo trumpet literature. And once I get enough pieces together, I'm planning on doing like once a week, a little lunchtime micro concert where I play one little piece, like at, 12:14 in the afternoon or something on a Thursday. So when it's your lunch break, you can log on and see something. So if we can get the live part of it working, then that's how I plan on doing that, is just do a little live performance once a week.
Yeah, that sounds great.
So that way I think it does a couple of things. One, it gives people something live to see, even though they're not actually there. But the other thing is it gives me something to focus on.
Mm-hmm.
That's my biggest issue as a musician. I don't know what you're like, but if I don't have a gig coming up, I find it really hard to open the case.
It helps.
Yeah.
Have something, something on the horizon.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my next question was something like, do you see any positives maybe that have come out of this as far as the use of the new technology, or just kind of, in general? And maybe, that might be part of it.
I think the positive is that people who maybe weren't Luddites, but were not fans of technology are finding that it's not as hard as they think to use that stuff. And as far as musicians go, there's a lot of musicians that are working on trying to use this technology in new ways. So I think that's the good of it, is that it's forcing you to maybe get outside your comfort zone. And so, yeah, I think that's good overall. I think, yeah. And I think, we've been, you played with Janine and Gary in their backyard a month ago or so.
Right.
Yeah. And we've been doing that, a weekly outdoor, event with social distancing, and people have been really excited about that. We've had pretty good numbers. Um, uh, so I think people are kind of desperate to get out and visit with each other, and this is a way that they can do that and still, socially distance. And um,
And I was enjoying my time at home a little bit too much, and then I played that gig, and I realized how much fun it is to get out and to
Yeah, I
meet
know what you
people
mean.
and play a little
I
bit.
Yeah, I was so focused on finishing the semester in the spring, and making sure classes were
Mhm.
working and all that, that music just, kind of went by the wayside. And then even over the summer, I'm like you, I kind of enjoyed just hanging out with my family,
Well,
and
yeah,
it was
you have a
great.
new baby and
Well, two
or
now,
yeah.
but another one on the way. So yeah, so that's been kind of nice. Uh, and now getting back to work is actually good too, because too much time away is probably not a good thing.
Okay. Well, hey, thanks.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what's gonna happen with this, but
Well, it's
yeah.
going to be what
Oh,
it is.
I've got my one signature question I'd like to ask.
Oh, okay.
Um, if if there's one thing I guess you're a performer, so I mean, you could talk about performing, but I'm thinking more, if we could stick to the teaching, like if there's one thing about teaching brass at a small college in western South Dakota that you would like everyone to know. I mean, but maybe you've never had a chance to talk to anybody about whatever.
Hmm.
What would it be?
Something about teaching brass at a
Your
small
trials
college.
and tribulations.
Um,
What do you go through that no one else no one knows? Or
um,
something good, I mean, not
I
nothing.
you know, it's um, ex. Well, the you have you get students that have a wide range of backgrounds, um, and you have some students coming in that with small schools in Wyoming and South Dakota, because we get those students that come from small schools where you've got a music
Mhm.
teacher that may be K through 12 and they're doing everything. um, um, they're giving their kids a good foundational instruction. I'm not saying that the kids are coming not knowing anything, but there's a difference between being taught by, say, a trumpet player for 8 or 9 years before you come to college, and being taught by somebody that knows a little bit about brass. So it's a varying level, and the challenge of bringing people, whatever level they come at, and getting them up to where they should be is a great challenge, and I think that's both the most difficult part of it and the most satisfying, is when you get a student that you see they buy into it and they start making a lot of great progress,
Right.
and then seeing, and that just builds on itself, right? When you master a certain technique, then all of a sudden that opens up a lot more venues, and so that part of it I really enjoy. And Yeah, there's um, you just have to always be researching. Being a trumpet player, I'm not an expert in horn or trombone or tuba, but when you have to teach those, uh, you you learn. You learn how to do that stuff, and you learn what people need, and yeah. So I don't know if that's a great answer, but
Oh, I think it's
yeah,
fabulous.
I don't know if you wanted any dirt or
No,
any gossip, or there was this
nothing.
one student that.
No, 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 nothing
Yeah.
like that. I mean, I was thinking about it, what I would say, and mine was something like, I just want everyone to know that, yes, I have tried that. And,
Hmm.
they gotta, the idea that you don't the students, you kind of, every student is different, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And sometimes one thing will work with
Mm-hmm.
one student, and another time
Right.
it won't work.
Right. And you go, this worked brilliantly with my last student.
What's the deal?
What's your problem?
Yeah.
Having to, because everybody looks at things different ways, and trying to figure out how to do that is a real challenge. But that idea of, yes, I've tried that before. You know, I think that's half the battle, is getting students to realize that you know what you're talking about, and you have their best interests in mind, and that if they're going about something the wrong way, they might get to the final product eventually, but it's going to take a whole lot longer than if they do it a different way. And you've probably had students, and I've had a few, that were just incredibly stubborn. And you know, it's like, well, okay, you go ahead and beat your head against the wall for a couple of years, and then you'll realize how nice it feels when you stop.
Yep. Sooner or later, you might have to learn that arpeggio. So,
well, right,
just
right.
do it now. Do it now. It's a good time.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. Hey, can you hang on for a minute? I'm going to end the broadcast. So can you say goodbye? I was told by another online teacher to always wave.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. Do you wave?
I don't, but I think the reason you wave is because a lot of students, I've been told, and I don't know if this is true or not, but they'll log on to class, like if it's a live Zoom or whatever it is, and then they turn their camera off so you can't see them, and then they turn the audio off as well. So their name shows up that they're logged into the class, but they're not necessarily actually actively involved. And if they see something out of the corner of the screen, then they're going to look up and go, "Oh, it's done." So I don't know if that's what they were getting at, or if it just seems friendlier. I don't know.
I was going with friendly, but
okay.
Maybe it's nice to know that there's a.
Yeah, apparently we got an email the other day saying we should ask our students to leave their cameras on and also to dress appropriately.
Oh.
if they're doing stuff like this, because apparently that's been an issue. I haven't noticed it, but.
Well, I mean, I suppose if you're at home all the time, you forget to
wear pants
on.
Yeah.
Maybe. I'm not saying that's happening here. We are okay. Well, hey, thanks.
Yeah, and good luck with all of these interviews. And yeah, this is kind of cool. So thank you.
Great.
I'll wave too.
Wait. Yeah, don't go.
Okay.
I'll bye everybody at home. But